Have you ever wondered what would happen if Tanjiro's father, Tanjiro Kamado, was not ill and joined the Demon Slayer Corps? Or what if Doma never existed? And what if Kokushibo was a good demon like Nezuko? These what ifs will completely change the story of Demon Slayer as we know it. Tanjiro Kamado, Tanjiro's father, was the reason Tanjiro was able to perform Hinokami Kagura and gain the ability of the transparent world. Now, what if Tanjiro Kamado wasn't ill and joined the Demon Slayer Corps along with Tanjiro? Would it make the journey to defeating Muzan easier? Let's find out if the father and son duo would make drastic changes to the story. Firstly, let's imagine a situation where Tanjiro's father, Tanjiro, was a healthy man and was alive during the events of Demon Slayer. During the first episode, he and Tanjiro come home only to find out that everyone was dead except for Nezuko after they ventured together to get some coal. Then the same thing happens in the main story where Giyu tries to kill Nezuko, but this time Tanjiro wasn't alone. So would he and his father be able to beat Giyu? Well, if Giyu wanted to, then he would be gone in the blink of an eye. Nevertheless, Giyu spares them and makes them find Sakonji or Rokudaki to become Demon Slayers. From here on, we will skip until the Mount Natagumo arc because the early chapters didn't change aside from the fact that Tanjiro is now traveling with his father. Hence, the battles will become easier because of another Demon Slayer by his side along with Nezuko. As the family trio along with Inosuke and Zenitsu arrive on the outskirts of the mountain, they see an injured Demon Slayer getting pulled back to the forest. They decide to save him and Zenitsu stays behind as usual because of fear. Meanwhile, Inosuke along with Tanjiro and Tanjiro fight the Mother Spider Demon. Would the three of them be able to defeat her along with their puppets? With that in mind, if they could beat it in the original story with just the two of them, adding Tanjiro's help would make the fight even easier. Having defeated the Mother Spider Demon, the trio found themselves fighting the Father Spider Demon this time. Tanjiro got separated, leaving Inosuke and Tanjiro to fight against the demon. Will they be able to beat it without Giyu's help? Now, if Tanjiro used the Hinokami Kagura, this demon didn't stand a chance. As Giyu arrived, the demon's head was already severed by Tanjiro. Meanwhile, Zenitsu defeats the Brother Spider Demon just like in the original story. And so does Tanjiro and Nezuko's battle against Rui. After this arc, we move on to the Mugen Train as there are no significant changes to the story until this arc. Following their success on Mount Natagumo, Tanjiro and the gang along with Tanjiro accompany Rengoku to investigate the mysterious events in the Mugen Train. The events in the train will be pretty much the same as the original story. They killed Enmu while saving the lives of the passengers. In the end, Akaza appeared and an intense fight happened. But with Tanjiro's help this time, would they be able to stop Akaza from killing Rengoku? Sadly, even if we have two sun-breathing users this time, it is still too early for them to be able to fight Akaza. The demon still killed Rengoku and Tanjiro and the others went back home wounded and sad. Moving on to the Entertainment District arc, Tanjiro and the gang will be with Tanjiro as they will be accompanying Tengen to investigate the disappearance of his wives. They will be fighting Daki and Gyutaro. With Tanjiro helping them, would they be able to defeat the Upper Moon Demons? Now, if the team worked together just like in the original story to defeat the Upper Moon Demons, they could beat them easily. And this time, Tengen didn't lose his arm and went home in one piece. As we enter the Swordsmith Village arc, Muichiro and Tanjiro along with other Demon Slayers would fight against the Upper Moon, Santengo and Gyoko. But this time, they have another sun-breathing swordsman with them, Tanjiro. With Mitsuri arriving as their backup, will they be able to beat two Upper Moon Demons? Looking at it, if Tanjiro and Tanjiro each take on one Upper Moon Demon, the fight will be easier compared to the original story, resulting in fewer deaths in the village. In one of the final arcs of the story, the Ubuyashiki estate is attacked. Sanemi rushes towards the mansion through the forest, only to witness a colossal explosion obliterating the mountainside as he arrives at the location. When the other Hashiras arrive, they band together to battle Muzan. Suddenly, enormous doors appear, and the Demon Slayers find themselves falling into the Infinity Castle. Muzan ridicules them and promises to eliminate them all. With two sun-breathing users this time, surely the fight would be easier, right? In this case, we also add the fact that this father and son duo also has access to the transparent world makes them even more powerful. If we imagine that Tanjiro and Tanjiro didn't get separated when they went into the Infinity Castle, then both of them along with Giyu will be fighting against Akaza. Now will the three of them be able to beat Upper Moon 3? Well, if we look back to the original story, Akaza gave up fighting and stopped his regeneration after remembering his fiancé and the time he was a human. But in this alternate timeline, if we take into account with the relentless attacks of the two sun-breathing users and with their ability to see the transparent world, they were able to obliterate this demon without relying on him to give up. Now the rest of the fights in this arc will be technically the same as Tanjiro was with Tanjiro, including Shinobu's death, so we will skip to the fight with Muzan. As the other Hashiras didn't stand a chance against the relentless attacks of Muzan, it was up to Tanjiro and Tanjiro to even the odds. Will the two of them obliterate Muzan as Yoriichi did? With Muzan's powers, if the father and son duo were as strong as Yoriichi, they could, but they were nowhere near his level. But still, the two of them are just enough to hold Muzan down. After all, the main objective of this fight was to hold down Muzan long enough for the sun to disintegrate him. And as Tamayo's poison was slowly affecting Muzan, the two of them along with the other Demon Slayers and Hashiras successfully disintegrated the Demon Lord using the sun. As the sun rises on a new day, killing Muzan, everyone heaves a sigh of relief, crying as the final battle is finally over. Unlike in the original story where some Hashiras died after the battle, this time around, the presence of another sun-breathing user saved the lives of other Hashiras, but some lives were still sacrificed in the battle against Muzan. But better limbs than lives, right? However, the fight still isn't over. As Tanjiro was transformed into a demon, Tanjiro and Nezuko would hold him down as Tanjiro seems to recognize and not attack them. As Tanjiro grows stronger every second, will his father put an end to him? Luckily, if he couldn't kill Nezuko, then surely he wouldn't kill his son. So just like in the original story, the cure was injected by Kanao to turn Tanjiro back into a human. And that was the end of this alternate timeline. The presence of Tanjiro Kamado really came in handy as it prevented the deaths of several characters, making the end more satisfying. If you want the Demon Slayers to win, the next one is just for you. What if Doma never existed? Which character would be affected and how would this affect the entirety of the story? To start off, things would mainly stay the same. Tanjiro would lose his family, his training, and even the selection arc would happen all the same. The part where things start to break off though would be the Suzumi Mansion arc, which is supposedly the part where we are introduced to Inosuke, which won't be possible due to Doma ceasing to exist. Then, what is the main reason for Inosuke not being present in the story to begin with? To start off, if Doma and his cult didn't exist, then the events that led to Inosuke being orphaned would also not come to pass, as his mother was a part of Doma's cult in the original timeline. With Tanjiro and Zenitsu receiving their new mission, the pair then get ready to depart for Mount Natagumo, as they receive new orders telling them of their new destination. The same events regarding Zenitsu would take place in this arc, with him defeating the brother Spider Demon and slowly dying to the poison. His life would then be saved by a Hashira named Kanai Kocho, unlike the original timeline wherein he was saved by Shinobu. What's the reason for the sudden change? If we go back in time, we would see that Kanai Kocho lost her life when she was facing Doma, and if we remove Doma in the story, then that event won't come to pass, which will result in her surviving until the current timeline. With Inosuke's absence, Tanjiro would head up the mountain alone and face the mother and father Spider Demon. Without Inosuke's assistance and his spatial awareness ability, Tanjiro wouldn't even have the chance to fight against Rui, for he'd spend the majority of his time either fighting or buying time as he faces the demons of the Spider family. Will Tanjiro even stand a chance against the mother Spider with her headless puppet? And aside from those two, there's also the father Spider. Will Tanjiro even survive this confrontation? Looking at it, if Tanjiro were to fight them along with Nezuko, then the main deviation from the original timeline would be that he would be more likely to awaken Hinokami Kagura in this fight instead of his battle against Rui. With Hinokami Kagura, he can easily win the fight against the Spider family, but the backlash from this body and using this technique would heavily disable him, which leaves Rui in Gyu's, wherein the same event will occur, with Gyu winning effortlessly. As the battle ends, will the usual events take place, such as Nezuko's trial? Despite this battle with Rui not taking place, the announcement from the crow would still happen, which would result in the Hashira meeting. Without Doma, would the existence of Daki and Gyutaro even take place? Most likely, if the pair wouldn't become demons and just die since Doma was the one who turned them, it would also mean that the position of Upper 6 would now belong to Enmu. With the Entertainment District arc not taking place in this alternate timeline, then we could also assume that Tengen's retirement also didn't take place, which would make him an active player for the Infinity Castle arc, greatly boosting the Demon Corp's firepower. This would also mean that Tanjiro does not awaken his Demon Slayer mark, although he would accomplish this at the Swordsmith arc nonetheless. Moving on into the last arc, the final clash against the demons this time around would be significantly easier, seeing as heavy hitters such as Doma doesn't exist, and with the presence of Tengen and Kanai, the fight that was previously winnable now turns into a complete victory. With the presence of Kanai and Tengen along with their Demon Slayer mark manifestation, which would happen in their fight against Kokushibo. Despite the massive advantage of the Demon Slayers, would they still have a hard time taking out Kokushibo? Well, seeing as there's two more fighters that he has to deal with, Kokushibo would certainly have a harder time dealing with them. But the event wherein the Hashiras were separated inside the castle would still take place, which will ultimately result in the same events from occurring. He will be ultimately defeated when 𝗪𝘰𝗵 entered the fight, similar to that of the original timeline. It would come with a price though, as 𝗪𝘁𝗀 and Genya lose their lives, succumbing to the wounds they received against Kokushibo's moon breathing. The fight with Muzan would also take place similarly to the original, with little to no changes. And seeing as Doma was absent in this timeline, Shinobu survived the battle. However, in this case, with most of the Hashiras still having enough strength, along with Tanjiro, they would hold off Muzan until sunrise and defeat him, but at the cost of most of their lives. With Doma's absence, things got way easier for our protagonists. The absence of Daki and Gyutaro and him not being present in the final clash really changes up a lot of things, including Shinobu and Inosuke's lives. If you like this, wait for what we have next for you. Kokushibo is the strongest demon after Muzan, having battle experience as a demon slayer as well as breathing techniques and access to the transparent world. Now, what if he was a good demon like Nezuko? What would happen if he joined the fight against Muzan? Would he be able to stand a chance against the Demon Lord? But first, let me explain how Kokushibo became a good demon. After his brother Yoriichi almost killed him, Kokushibo realized that his ways were wrong and decided not to follow Muzan's orders anymore. He brought the lifeless body of his brother back home and vowed to return to being a demon slayer at his burial. Now where does he go from here? Well, if we look at it, he went home to find the demon doctor Tamayo. After meeting her, he sought the help of Tamayo to live as a demon without drinking blood. He wanted to become a harmless demon to join the Demon Hunter Corps. For the sake of this story, let's say that they somehow find a way for Kokushibo to be a harmless demon. So now where does he go next? Logically, if we follow the story to the headquarters of the Demon Slayer Corps, the Ubuyashiki estate. He went to the head of the Demon Slayer Corps to explain his circumstances and become a Demon Slayer. Considering he is the brother of Yoriichi, he was accepted back to become a Demon Slayer and obtain the title of Hashira. So what does he do from here? Years passed and many generations of Demon Slayers came to know of Kokushibo. One day, he received amazing news from Tamayo that a certain demon named Nezuko doesn't kill humans. He met Tanjiro and Nezuko when they were brought to be judged, and he was amazed by the fact that Nezuko hasn't killed or harmed any humans since she became a demon. After this, the events went like the original story until the Infinity Castle arc. With the story moving forward, did Kokushibo's change of heart affect someone else? Well, going to sad person, if Kokushibo did not join Muzan and remain the Demon Slayer, Kaigaku wouldn't become a demon and become the upper rank 6. With Kaigaku not being an upper moon in the story, how will this affect the demons? Unfortunately for the demons, if this happens, this will reduce the forces of Muzan in the final arc since he will be replacing 2 upper rank demons, Gyutaro and Daki. Having joined the Demon Slayers, Kokushibo and Kaigaku joined the Hashiras during the final fight against Muzan. If Muzan is now short of 2 upper rank demons, the fight was very disadvantageous for him. With Kokushibo around, we can assume that all the upper rank demons have their ranked up by 1, making Akaza rank 2 and Doma rank 1. With fewer demons to fight and a new strong ally, will this make things easier for them? After all, if more Hashiras work together in fighting against the upper moons, they can avoid the deaths and eventually fight Muzan full force. After defeating all the demons in the castle, Muzan was left all alone against the full might of the Demon Slayer Corps while being poisoned by Tamayo. With the fight raging on, would he be able to defeat them all? Absolutely not. If he couldn't handle Tanjiro in the original story, having all the Hashiras alive fighting against Muzan in this battle makes it anticlimactic. And also adding the fact that Kokushibo is here too, Muzan stands absolutely no chance. Having Kokushibo was straight up a cheat for the final fight against Muzan, as making him a good guy changed so many things that led up to the anticlimactic defeat of the Demon Lord. And that's the answer to the 3 what if questions. If you have your own theories, comment them down below. If you're curious about other what if stories, stay tuned for our next videos.